Welcome to episode 189 of Fresh Air at 5, Students in the Intelligence Age. And you know what? There's so much to unpack in that. One thing that's unpacking in that is that we are in the intelligence age now, and we need to figure out how to get through and learn. So we talk about that later in the episode, and soon thereafter, you're going to hear from 3 of my students. So that's why I got students in the title. There's so much in here. We can talk about differentiation at the outset and some other things, and self-reliance. So take a listen here for yourself. Thanks for joining. Tell a friend, subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcast. Would be fantastic, and I look forward to hearing from you. So without further ado, Fresh Air at 5, 189.
Hi, this is Krista Lay.
And I'm Craig Aarons Martin.
We are the co-hosts of the SEL in EDU podcast.
Proud member of the Education Podcast Network.
Each show on the network is independently owned, and the views expressed may not represent those of other podcasts.
For the best education podcast, visit edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter, coming to you every week from Abbotsford, which is about 45 minutes east of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to get some fresh air by walking about my neighborhood, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stolo people, the Simath First Nation and Mathwee First Nation. I consume podcast content while I walk, then reflect on this content in an unedited video, which I post on my X, formerly known as Twitter, channel every day. This podcast is the collection of the audio taken from those daily selfie videos over the course of a week, Monday to Friday. So let's jump into my listening and learning this past week. Hey, PLN, October 16, 2024. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. It's Wednesday already, and you're like, whoa, where's Carpenter been? Well, it was Canadian Thanksgiving on Monday, so I didn't walk. I took the day off of walking and stayed in bed and slept because I'd been up the 2 days early in the morning, going fishing, and enjoyed my Saturday and Sunday. Also, it was my birthday, so I was a birthday present. I could stay in bed and still continue to enjoy my weekend. Not that I don't enjoy this, but, just relax and took it easy on Monday. All right. So, yesterday was back to school in the fullness of, in an online world, when you head back to school, you walk into a tsunami of marking that has piled up over the weekend because students have been off on a long weekend. They also had, they hand in all their work, and it takes a while to get at it, to get back. And so, just figuring out your workflow and, getting back to answering all the emails and messages. And I didn't even get them done. I got stuff still piled up from the weekend, because I was teaching in class yesterday and prep for class and all those things. So anyhow, here I am now, and I'm thankful that I'm out for my walk. This morning I listened to episode 174 of the EdTech Throwdown with Eric and Nick, and they call this differentiation done right, and talking about providing means for every learner's needs and how you can do that with your lessons. They bring us their traditional ideas about stations or UDL at the top as they talk about how they go about differentiating their classrooms, and then they bring us different quizzes in their EdTech Throwdown. As they put these things head to head, we're supposed to go vote. So have you voted yet? I haven't voted. I got to go vote and find out where I can vote. Then they talk about other tools that are possible for differentiating your content. Take a listen to this episode. Fantastic. And there's all manner, including some AI stuff towards the end. All right, boys. Thanks all. Talk to you. Bye. The last thing for October 16, 2024. I'm bringing you Now and Then from Teach Happier Suzanne Daly, as she brings us an episode where she talks about walking through the hard things that go on in our life. We've talked about, how we take care of our time and what do we do with our time and how do we share ourselves with the people that are around us. And now and then she talks about, say, there's somebody in your space that has a significantly tragic event that happens, a loved one passes away, they go through some trauma of some kind, a car accident or whatever. And, people step up, and now they, step up and they bring food and they bring support, and they are there right now. And it's almost like an overwhelm of love that pours in as people go through stuff now. But what about then? What about 4 weeks later? What about 6 weeks later? 6 months later? A year later, on the anniversary of that event that took place, having people that are aware, and she talks about strategies that we can, put calendar appointment invitations in our own calendars to go, hey, check in on so-and-so because, remember their mom died a year ago, and how we can do that. This has been kind of a normal mode for myself at times, most times. And, but having the technology to support this is important. What do we do to help us remind ourselves of these things? We've got our digital calendars in our hands right now. So when we are walking the road with somebody at the now, we can then make a plan to check in and the then. So thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate the thoughts and your compassion for your community around you. And it's so important that we make sure that we are there for those in our workspaces and our personal spaces and our families. All right. Have a fabulous day. I will. And looking forward to walking tomorrow morning. Okay, bye. Hey, PLN, October 17, 2024. And for Fresh Air at 5 today, I am at school because this morning it was pouring rain. I had a really long day yesterday and did not get up this morning to go for my walk. So today at school, I listened to the Digital Learning Podcast, episode 55 with Holly Clark and Matt Miller, and they bring us an episode called Where Education is Headed in an AI World. And I was excited to listen to this because you know what? We need to be mindful about where we are right now. We are just about a month and a half prior to 2 years that ChatGPT came live for the world to see back in November 2022. And what are we doing as educators and an education system to grow our students? I think that the first step is that teachers need to be learners. We need to make sure that we're stepping into this and learning how to use AI and the different tools that are available, but not so much the cookie cutter tools that will make lesson plans and stuff like that. We have to understand what it is and how it can help solve us problems, how we can use it for tutoring for our students, how we can not be concerned about students cheating because we're going to teach our students about ethics. We're going to teach our students about doing the work themselves because they are responsible for their learning. And if they don't know how to do it and we're relying on a machine to do the learning, then they didn't learn. So that's my quick thoughts. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Holly. Appreciate your words. There's a lot in this episode. Take a listen for yourself to episode 55 of the Digital Learning Podcast with Matt and Holly. And I've got 3 students that are with me today. So in the very next segment, we're going to hear from 3 students. We're going to talk about what they learned and thought about from this episode. So coming right back, I'll be right here in just a second. Hang on. Bye. One more thing for October 17, 2024. Okay, so I told you that I'm going to have some students reflect on their thoughts on episode 55 of the Digital Learning Podcast. So here we have 3 of my students here at the AVS. We've got Emmett, Tobias, and Kieran. So these guys are in grade 11 and grade 12 here, and we're going to start with Emmett. Emmett, what do you think about the podcast?
I think it showed me how many students don't have access to a teacher that is teaching them about these tools, and it's made me feel very thankful for how I have a teacher that is open to learning about these new tools and making sure that I'm prepared for our new AI-driven world, and that I can learn from it as best as is possible, and that I can use the tools as responsibly as possible.
All right. Well, thank you, Emmett. Appreciate that. Tobias, what do you thought?
Yeah, I thought that in this new era of learning, that having a growth mindset is crucial to learning how to use AI with ethical reasons, and just simply to master the tools of AI and use them for good and not for cheating or any other kind of abuse of it.
Right on. Are you a lifelong learner?
I'd like to be, yes, and I'm trying my best.
You're working on it, right?
Yes.
And we're working on that, right?
Yeah.
All right, so here we got Tieran. What do you think, Tieran?
Yeah, I also like to call myself a lifelong learner, and I thought the podcast really highlighted the importance of using AI and how it's a big part of our world today and will be for all the years to come, and how important it is for us as students to be educated in this field, to be able to learn from it, because in the future this will be the world. It'll be made up of a lot of artificial intelligence.
That's right. I thought it interesting how, Holly, you said that our grade 4s are going to be graduating and the world's going to be radically different. Different. Like even these guys, they're graduating this year and next, and the world will be different even this year and next. Hey, guys?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, PLN, October 18, 2024, out for fresh air at 5 this morning. It's about 6 degrees Celsius. It is dry right now. We're getting what looks like a small atmospheric river coming at us this weekend with a ridiculous 50 to 75 millimeters of rain tomorrow, according to the forecast, which is ridiculous. It's like super, super wet. This morning, I'm walking, and in hand, I've got a new recording device, my new phone. So yesterday, my iPhone 13 actually died. The motherboard or something inside kicked it, didn't do anything crazy to it, and so I had to go get a new phone. Lost a bunch of contacts because it had been backed up in a bit, so just a reminder to you, make sure your backups are in good shape for your photos and your contacts and stuff like that, and so you can keep moving. All right, this morning, I am going to remind you of you need to listen to episode 189 of Fresh Air at 5, because in this episode from yesterday, because my phone died, I did some recording, but I didn't get it on Twitter, the daily, about my learning that I did with 3 of my students, actually. So I've got some student words and voice in my podcast that I'm pretty proud of these 3 gentlemen, young men, that were able to talk and share their thoughts about AI and the future of education from episode 55 of the Digital Learning Podcast with Holly Clark and Matt Miller. So Holly and Matt, I'm going to ask you to take a listen to the podcast, 189, that will be coming out later this evening by tomorrow morning. I have a wedding to attend later today, and so you can hear my thoughts on the episode, as well as what my 3 students have to say about AI in the future of education and how we move forward with our lifelong learning. All right, coming up, I have a fantastic thought about evolving with gratitude. Thanks, hang on. The last thing for October 18, 2024. All right, as I'm walking today, I listened to a bonus episode of Evolving with Gratitude, episode 116. Now, Lainey, I am back listening to Evolving with Gratitude, and I love your show. It's been a while. Over the summer, you did some recap episodes with some guests and just reviewed those podcasts. And so over the summer, because I'd listened to those already, I stopped listening. But now you've got some new content, and I'm back. All right, this bonus episode, You have a number on it, 116. Not sure why you call it a bonus episode, other than this, people, is a bonus. You need to listen to this episode because the stuff that I heard in this episode is like life bonus stuff. And you got to get into it and hear it. I'm excited about what I heard, and I'm going to go buy her book because I think it's important that we think about ourselves in different light than we typically do of, not worthy and stuff like that. All right, so this episode is called 7 Rules of Self-Reliance with Maha Abaluyanani. She's Egyptian. I can't say her last name. I apologize, Maha, for not getting your name right. I should have studied more, but a couple seconds between listening and talking now wasn't enough study time. She talks about the 7 rules of self-reliance that book she's written. She talks about her journey through life and how she has risen to the top and succeeded. Talked about her journey with her parents, living in Egypt, and taking a job that seemed like she was overqualified for, but that launched her into the career and space that she's in now. We don't know what those opportunities will look like, and I really appreciate hearing her story because I've done something kind of similar, not in the grand scale of things, but overall, I am where I am because of some opportunities that I took. Thank you, Lainey, for having Maha on. Thank you, Maha, for sharing your story, and I look forward to reading your book and being inspired. That's all I got for this week for episode 189, Fresh Air at 5. Talk to you soon. Bye. I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's like a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find some other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific episode podcast titles and episode numbers in the show notes, which are only a click or swipe away for your learning convenience. I've also started to put together a Spotify playlist of each of the episodes so that you can also take a listen to those specifically, and the link to that playlist is in the show notes. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brian Carr, BRYONCAR, or at Fresh Air at 5. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can be found on the Educational Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day. Get some fresh air before the day is out and take care of yourself because you are worth it.